Larry, it's Good News Friday.
And would you consider that good news?
Which part?
I mean, the labor report. I mean, would you consider, well, firstly, do you trust any of the numbers they report at all?
Well, I have a little bit more trust in the household survey.
Household, yeah.
Right.
But the household report, what is that, good news or bad news in your judgment?
I considered that part of it to be neutral because we now have 2 months ago, we were at 4.1, last month 4.3, this month 4.2. So that looked really flattish to me. Now, last month we talked about Rasmussen having their report, and you asked me to do more research on that. So I did. I even paid $35 a year to join.
Wow, Randy.
So I could so that I could get all the
I'll send you a check.
Anyway, the reality is that Rasmussen's numbers, while they're double the numbers that are coming out, that the percentage, they're about 8.4%. His numbers have been flat also. And his numbers have been flat for about 6 months. So he's not showing much change in the labor market over the last 6 months. And that would kind of fit in with that Thursday initial unemployment number that seems so flat also, kind of month after month after month.
But 8.4% is pretty alarming anyway.
So he asks the question, his question is, are you employed? They just call somebody, are you employed? And if they say they say no or they don't know, then he records that. And if they say yes, he asks by whom. So he gets a breakdown, whether they're self-employed, whether they are working for the government, et cetera. But the numbers over those last 6 months have been pretty flat. And even though we've seen a pretty good increase in the unemployment number in the labor statistic numbers, I think if you take everything together, the beige book and the layoff notices, and you take all the numbers, because I read this stuff, everything I get my hands on every single day, that might not be too far off. The labor market is kind of flat. Nobody's hiring, nobody's really firing, laying off that much. But if you want a new job right now, they're not hiring.
I want to challenge one thing.
Okay.
I want to know how many of these 80,000 jobs, give or take, were government jobs.
The 80,000, you mean the 80,000 net today?
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't so much a matter, there was definitely, the government did fine, but the real number that was brought up again by a few people is that it's all part-time jobs, and the full-time jobs are decreasing, part-time jobs are going up. Also, immigrants, it's all immigrants. The population that are getting the new jobs, or the new jobs coming in, it's all immigrants.
So the net hiring of 80,000, you don't have a number for what percentage is government or public sector hiring?
Yeah, I all of that is in the numbers, Larry. I did not jot that down. Sometimes I'll look at is it more happening in, like, manufacturing was definitely down again. Health services was definitely up again, so some of those categories. But government has been, a big piece of the total numbers, month after month after month, in terms of increases. I did not check that one this morning, though, or recall it at least.
Because there was a post that says 70,000 of the net 80,000 were governments or public sector hiring.
Wow, I didn't see that, Larry.
Which could have been a significant amount of healthcare, which is really public sector.
Right. Yeah.
I think it bears looking at. I mean, you can't believe any random post.
That's true too.
You can't believe any post, actually, even those that are community noted. It's
Right.
very hard to believe them, but I think that it's very important to check that because, you know, I can't believe the unemployment numbers and I can't believe the rate of employment. I see the numbers with my eyes, but what I'm seeing in the economy is different.
Yeah, well, we'll be talking about a lot more of this with Cathie's numbers coming out tonight sometime, and you and I
Yeah.
will be doing that show tomorrow morning where we'll talk about. I'm sure she'll dig into some of these details. We can both go back and take a deeper look
Right.
ourselves at what the labor numbers were. What I do remember, construction was up, and that's been true month after month. Now we're
Our
talking about,
construction is up, yeah.
but we're talking about big construction. We're talking about infrastructure,
Yeah.
the non-residential construction is what's up, not residential construction. That's not doing well at all. I mean, it's really not at all. So anyway, well, I took the jobs number as being really bad. Not because of the number, but because everything was amiss.
Yeah.
The number of the revision was huge. It was 1/3 of the jobs last month went away. 1/3.
Well, we have to also think that the revision is going to be equally large on this number today.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
So, and maybe that has to do with the public sector jobs that are being reported. Look, there's something's amiss because these revisions come every single time without, there's never an exception. And, I just have a sense that we are functionally in a recession. I may be wrong, but I mean, that's everything in my spidey sense tells me we're in recession. But
Well, and of course, I'm agreeing with you on that one. I believe the recession started on June 1.
yeah, no, I'm aligned.
So we have another, I'm sure Cathie will probably talk about this tonight, but the inversion has now totally, absolutely reinverted. It was at the end of the day today, it was 3 basis points. So it was reinverted at the end of trading on Wednesday, but then it went back the other way yesterday. But I think with a 3 basis point difference today, we can count it as absolutely reinverted. So I would say between that and the jobs report, we can say that the recession has begun. I'm going to call that good news because now we can get it out of the way.
I agree. I think there may be some pain though. Recessions, the good news about recessions, I always say this, is that they don't last long.
Right.
I mean, recessions that do last long come from very long periods of distortion.
Right.
Now, one could say there's been quite a considerable period of distortion, and it could be painful. But on the other hand, I think what we're seeing is the post-21, return to reality. And I think that there's no doubt that the huge amount of money that the Biden administration spent in their second year, staved off the day, but the Federal Reserve kind of helped both offset it and then amplify it. And so, if you take all of that into account, it's quite possible we could be out of this in another 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, the one thing that you can almost count on is that if there's a change of government, the next quarter after the change of government, you're going to have a positive thing. If you don't,
you're going to have a lot of government expenditure, except you're going to have a lot of government expenditure no matter what happens, given how these governments now operate.
Yeah, not so much about the expenditures, Larry. What it is it's about the certainty. So right now there's tremendous uncertainty. Barron's today, they were saying that was a big part of the reason why the market's down. One of the three reasons they gave for Tesla being down is this uncertainty, where the race is just this close. It's just, there's just no, even Rasmussen, says it's that close. Silver?
Silver says that Trump is gaining on her, on Kamala. Yeah. He says that it's really difficult to say, because when you look at the polls, the bulk of them has her up fairly significantly. And the strange thing is that the Senate race is leaning Republican and the House race is leaning Democrat. That's an inversion, if ever there was an inversion.
Well, the economists will say that the perfect world would be if Trump wins and we get a split House or split Congress.
I think the same thing is true if Kamala wins.
Well, yeah, split Congress either way, but the Kamala winning, most the economists will say that that's not going to be as good for the economy as Trump winning, only because of reduction of regulations, reduction of
yes. So reduction of I have something to say about reduction of regulation.
I'm sure you do.
Reduction of regulation is a good indicator for the economy, but it takes 10 years.
Oh.
So if you look at the fantastic results we had during the Clinton period, it was because the House, he had to make accommodation with the House, a big accommodation with the House.
Gingrich.
So he and Gingrich made a deal, and he was the beneficiary of a massive amount of regulatory rollback during the Reagan administration.
Right. Yeah.
So he enjoyed this incredible period of interest rate interest rate what is the word that I'm struggling to find? Moderation, interest rate moderation, regulatory rollback, and a huge amount of cooperation with the House, and a rollback of a lot of the Johnson extreme social legislation.
Right.
And we had peak population growth. We had peak population. We had huge percentage of our population at work and a very large population of working age people.
Right.
In the prime of their time. That doesn't obtain anymore, except we've got a lot of these immigrants who are younger people and who can fill the working roles. So we'll see. I mean, time will tell. Time will tell. I hope the government is split no matter who gets in, and we'll see. Yeah.
So I'm curious to know about your take. Maybe you've been watching some of the videos over the last week or so with both of the Weinsteins coming, Eric and Brett Weinstein. I'm not actually, because people pronounce it both ways. I'm not sure which way they do. So both of them have been talking about this kind of not an international Kabul, like a group of
conspiracy.
It's not a conspiracy, not a bunch of people sitting around in a room, but rather kind of the elite management class all over the world that are now not now, but for 50 years or longer, have decided each year who is safe as a candidate. And that the reason that Trump and Kennedy get so much flack is because they are the two that are not safe. They are not controlled by, they're not going to listen to, and they're really
I'm not a
taking
great
risks.
conspiracy theory guy. I really am not. I think the world is too complicated. I think that thinking that, there's some cabal that controls anybody, any country, some international cabal that controls any country. I'm not a great believer. I think the world is too messy. Could there be such a cabal? I think by and large, the academic institutions have become so similar, they're so signed on to philosophy that you can get a degree of, common speak
Yeah.
amongst them, and you could get a degree of agreement across them. And when you see the guy that the head of Telegram, what was his name? I forget his name, but
Yeah.
the guy who heads up Telegram being arrested in France. I mean, you can even see a point where, Elon could arrive in France or Germany and be arrested on very similar grounds. Certainly he'd be arrested in Brazil on such grounds. So the question is that a group of people deciding, okay, we're going to get Elon, we're going to get the head of Telegram.
Mhm.
I don't think so. I really don't think it's that easy. And, the same for the ICC, the International Criminal Court. They indicted Putin, but they haven't indicted yet the Israeli government.
Or the head of Hamas.
Well, they haven't indicted. Well, the head of Hamas is headless now, but right, the ex guy, but so I'm not one for these conspiracies. Brett is. I mean, he is right there. Eric too. I mean, they are conspiracy theory guys. I'm not. Even David Sachs tends to be conspiracist in his approach. I'm not. I think the world is far too complicated.
Larry, what about now? Listen, I'm just wading into all this for the first time.
Yeah.
So I'm not even thinking. It didn't sound to me like they're talking like even a group that you could call together. More like they all talk to each other. This elite group. My wife read a book a couple of years ago that talked about the people that are worth $100 million or more. They can't even have a conversation. They can't even get together with normal people. They only talk to each other.
I don't think that's true.
You don't think that's
I honestly don't. I don't believe that for 1 minute. I met a lot of these people. I've been to events that they attend. I don't buy any of that. I think people who are not worth 100 million or 1 billion or whatever assign these negative labels to people who are in that class, and then they talk like this. I don't buy it. I think they're just regular people. There are some on each side of the divide. If you even, I mean, it's amazing how they are divided, and there's no cabal. There is commonality of thought, and that commonality of thought has become endemic in academia, and it is definitely spilt into the business. But you saw everybody going into DEI, and now they're retreating back from DEI. There's a lot of pressure because of the press, and because of what the press has become. So if you go to the BBC, you go to NPR, and then you go to the major headlines, they tend to think alike. But then that gives rise to people like the Free Press. I don't know if you read the Free Press. It's a great institution, I think Barry Weiss is doing she's doing the Lord's work. There's no doubt about it. And she's bringing such a lot of common sense. And a lot of people on the left disagree with her. A lot of people on the right disagree with her. But she's doing what she does honestly. So how does a person like that get as much influence as she gets if there is such a conspiracy? I don't,
Again, yeah, I'm not sure conspiracy is the right word. I think that's where we're missing each other on this conversation. It doesn't have to be a conspiracy if there's kind of a group think.
That's a conspiracy.
Well, but that would mean
I mean, there
actually...
isn't a group of people saying, let's do this evil thing. But there's a group of people who are so like-minded that they tend to, have this group think thing, and it's functionally the same thing.
But the group think would only be, we don't want any wildcats. We don't want anybody to mess up the good deal we've got.
Well, there is no doubt that academia in this country and in Europe have reached that point. There's no doubt at all. So in academia today, in many of our major academic institutions here and in Europe, there is a thought pattern that is permitted, and there is everything out of that is not permitted, and professors and students can be excluded.
Right. Yeah.
And so that is quite serious, and that does feed into the political world. And I think that's kind of what they're talking about. So yeah, I mean, there is definitely, without any doubt, groupthink at the academic level. And so that can play into the political area, but being a political area is very robust. People call it out all the time. And even the press, even though the Wall Street Journal has succumbed to that kind of groupthink, which is really terrible. We stopped getting the Wall Street Journal because the editorial pages are one thing, but the news pages have just succumbed to that.
Yeah, a while ago.
Yeah.
So Barron's, as I said that today's action on Tesla was not driven by any news about Tesla, and I tend to agree with that. The news on Tesla this week, I don't know how it gets much better than the executive branch of Tesla putting out a guideline for how FSD is going to be released over the, and improved and get to what everybody wants over the next several months. So Larry, if you've been playing the market for a very, very long time, there is no other stock like Tesla. Of course, it's impossible to even think of, how can we compare? But how does a stock like Tesla run up 20 points over a couple of days, 3 days, or whatever, and then come crashing down with not a whit of news? Now we know a big part of it was the macro, but what else? What else is going on there?
Well, I think Cern did a really good job of his analysis. I mean,
okay.
the reality is the average period of hold for Tesla stock is 44 days.
Right.
Well, if the average period of hold is 44 days, then really, it's the old, it's completely random what happens to the stock on a day-to-day basis. And so it's a stock that unless you hold for 3, 4, or 5 years, you really need to keep clear of that stock as far as possible. I saw somebody yesterday tweet, I've had it with the stock. I'm selling out. I can't take it anymore. Can't take the press anymore. I can't take Elon's statements anymore. I got to get out of the stock. And, here's a guy who's going to be bitter.
Very bitter.
In a couple of years' time. I don't know if it's a year's time or 2 years' time or 3 years' time. It's going to be very bitter. I saw Fred Lambert sold his stock yesterday.
Yeah.
And, it's very hard for me to understand how people can get so embittered by people who disagree with them,
Yeah.
so embittered by things that may be politically and unconscionable to his mind, spoken by the CEO of a company. But these things are just noise. They are just noise. You either understand the underlying business principle, business basis of Tesla's multiple different businesses, or you don't.
Right.
And if you understand them, then you know you're in for a 2, 3, 4-year ride. If you don't understand them, you shouldn't be in that stock.
So I call this good news, the 10%, I mean, 5% rather, wait, 10, almost 10% drop today, right? Almost 20 points. I call that good news because for those who have dry powder, they've got another bite at the apple. So that, see, we can turn anything into good news.
And then that's the other thing I want to complain about. Where's the complaints department in this?
Okay, nice.
You got it?
Yeah.
I want to complain about those people who say they use their dry powder when the stock goes down a few points. Guys, that is not the way to buy stock that you have high, that you really do have this conviction about. The way to buy a stock that you have high conviction about is by dollar cost averaging over time your investment in the stock. Because today's dip could be tomorrow's high.
Yeah.
It could be, we could be down to 130, we could be down to 160. It's completely random. You don't own stock times price. You own stock. That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
If you own it, I don't care if it's 100 shares, 1,000 shares, or 100,000 shares. You own that many shares, and you acquire that many shares, as your cash becomes available over time from, whether it's your business profits or it's your earnings or it's your whatever it is, or it's your contribution into your 401k. That's how you acquire stock. I'm not telling you to go out and buy stock of Tesla over time. I'm telling you, if you have a high conviction in stock, you buy it over time. Now, there are circumstances where things are such that it's a great time to buy the stock. There are. There's no doubt about it. Right now, in my judgment, this is a very good time to buy Tesla stock with money that you can afford to put away for some years. That's my judgment for myself.
Yeah.
Not for you, not for you, but for myself. Why? Because Tesla posted something yesterday, which I regard as one of the most important posts of the year on X. The head of Tesla's full self-driving program posted his roadmap
Right.
for the coming 2 months.
Yes.
And indications of what's coming in the early part of the year. When teams do that, what they're telling you is, guys, we are already testing, we've already seen this, we're already doing this, we know this is going to be there. My software teams came to me and said, I'm going to have this on this date. I know that they're already running that software because they've tested it and they know it's good, because otherwise they should be shot, through the head.
This is not a salesman like Elon saying, we're going to get it done.
It's not even a question of a salesman like Elon. This is not Elon willing something to happen by that date.
That too.
It's a different thing. So all I'm trying to say is, do not buy the dip, quote unquote. It's a terrible idea.
So we have a dip in the stock market too.
Yeah.
Some people are saying 7 to 10%. Randy said on Monday, I think, to you that it would be 10%. I didn't know it was going to happen this week, but I said I thought we had to have that 10% dip again. Do you think this is just the beginning of a 10% at least dip over the next? Because we're already down 10%, 11% on the NASDAQ.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, and we're 5% on S&P. So I'm thinking we go a full 10 and 20, 10 for the S&P, 20 for the NASDAQ.
There could be a route. I mean, we saw, I don't remember the date, but we saw a very nervous market go down 10% in one day. There could be a route. We could see a 20% decline. We could see a 30% decline if you and I are correct, and that, it becomes apparent we're in a recession, particularly, if people stop employing people on the part-time basis because they no longer have the revenue to do that. So yeah, it's more than possible. It's more than possible. These are not great times, but I tell you with confidence that in 10 years' time, the market's going to be dramatically higher than it is now.
Dramatically higher. And Tesla will be the largest company in the world.
It's possible. It's more than if you have high confidence, you should be putting away money. At our age, putting away money is very funny, but
I've been saying for a very long time, the only reason I need to make money at this time is to increase the amount of the inheritance my children are going to get. So that's what it boils down to. Okay, Larry. So we've got next week. The only thing really next week is the CPI.
Yeah.
CPI and PPI. But between now and the Fed on the week from Wednesday, there's other things. You've got the NFIB, the National Federation of Independent Business. I think the Fed does pay attention to that.
Yeah.
They have been very, 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 it's called the confidence index, and they have been very not confident. So that I wouldn't expect it to be worse. It might be, but I wouldn't expect it to be worse. But I don't really think that's going to impact the decision whether to go 25 or 50. But the CPI could. But my personal opinion right now is CPI is probably going to come in normal, not crazy either way. So where do you think we end up? What do you think is going to happen?
25. I can't see this Fed going 50. They have been so cautious. They have been so cautious. They got such a scare by the, they were really shocked by the jump in inflation. And it wasn't really their fault, actually. I think it was entirely due to, fiscal expenditures, but I could be wrong. Well, look, they're not going to go 50.
Okay.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first.
Boy, will I look silly when they go 50. No, I don't think they will.
Yes, well, the thing that I noticed in the employment numbers today that really wasn't talked about by any of the pundits that I could find was that the people are still getting pay hikes. I mean, it was 4.4%. That's 4.8% year over year. That is still way over what the Fed wants the inflation to be on wages, and they had the same numbers in the ADP and the same numbers in the base.
I think it's because we're just so short of skilled people.
Yeah, maybe, but I'm just saying it's not.
We've got plenty of people in unskilled jobs, but we don't have people in high skills jobs. And the kind of money they're paying engineers now must be moving the needle.
It's interesting though. That's one of the categories which I saw a report the other day. I think it was the Beige report that there's been a slight topping off or lowering of the engineers because some of the engineers
lowering of the numbers or lowering
of the wages. The wages are now coming under pressure a little bit on the engineers. They're way up there, but they're coming under pressure.
Interesting.
Probably because of AI is my guess.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know. You know what? I don't trust these damn numbers. I
So
see things
numbers,
with my,
so
I
little
see,
time.
what do I believe? My lying eyes or these damn numbers? I don't know.
All right. Well, we're gonna, as mentioned, we want to make sure everybody shows up tomorrow morning for Cathie Wood. Let's take a quick look. The only thing that we have at this point is basically just a quick recitation of the numbers, Larry. Dow Jones down 410, NASDAQ down 436, S&P down 94, and Tesla down $19.44. And in the after hours, Tesla down another 16 cents. Oh no, we're in trouble now. All right, so we got a weekend to think about this. We have the football season has started. People are going to be watching a lot of
Oh
football.
yeah, Alabama.
Alabama tomorrow. You've got the great game last night.
My
Down
family,
down
my,
to a toe.
my wife's family are Alabama crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah, they went to Alabama. My son's wife's family went to Alabama, and they're going to be focused.
So maybe people will get up on Monday morning and feel better about life and start investing again. We'll see. By the way, there was a couple of other things, so I didn't go through the whole list, but
Yeah.
let me go through the list because there's a couple of other things on what happened today that are worthy of note. Let me go back to that because again, we've got, as we mentioned, the reinversion of the so we're at 3716 for the 10-year and at 3654. So that's actually
Big
6 basis points now. That the 2-year is now below the 10-year, but the 2-month continues to. I don't have any. I have no idea what to make of that, and nobody else does either apparently because you
Got
can't
to be technical.
You may be. Dell and Palantir to join the S&P 500. Look at that. Shares of both jump. That's just a headline coming across. I thought I'd share. Okay, oil down another 99 cents. You've got Brent was almost at 70, maybe under 70 earlier today, both. But you've got Texas Intermediate down to 68 and Brent down to 71.46. And as we looked at this recessionary situation in the US, it's almost like people have forgotten the rest of the world exists. But China is not in good shape at all.
Not at all.
Europe is not in good shape at all. And
Germany is in serious trouble.
Germany's in serious trouble. Volkswagen, which is 5% of their economy, 5% of their employees is at Volkswagen or related to Volkswagen, and Volkswagen's laying off. So that does impact the US economy.
I don't think Volkswagen can lay off fast enough. I think that they're going to have to be rescued by the government.
Wow. Yeah. Well, you and AJ probably are on the same page on that one. Natural gas up, though. It's been doing very well the last couple of days in the face of all the oil going down. So up at 155 to $2.29. That's a good number for the natural gas. Gold down 1630 to 2526. Silver down 2.85%. Copper down 1.75%. Still over $4. Hasn't gone back under $4 again. And the Bitcoin, you ready? Down 25.85 to 53.
Wow. It may break 50 at this rate.
501, 53,501. That is definitely a new recent low by a bunch.
Very recent low. I mean, you only have to go back 3 months.
Months, yeah. It's not years we're talking about here.
Right.
And then, of course, we don't have any futures numbers. It's not till
gold. Gold. What happened to gold today?
I'm sorry. Did I not tell you gold? I thought I said gold. No. I'll go back. Gold. Yes, down 1630, 25.26.
Wow, that's quite a big slide. Yeah.
I think it was 25.55 was the high.
Yeah. So, no, higher than 25.55.
Well, let me punch it. I'll punch it. Here, we'll get it right. Previous close, day high. Let me show it on here. 20. shoot. 43. Best I can see is 43, but I'm pretty
Oh,
sure.
really?
I'm pretty sure it closed at like 25. I thought maybe I just saw it at 25.55 during the day. So I'm the highest I can make out because they're not showing me the high. I'm on the wrong chart. And it says it's, you know, that small of a drop, whether it's 55 or 43, it isn't really a significant drop.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are the numbers, Larry. And so I'm going to encourage people to go take a look at CERN's video from earlier today. We talked about an entire range of things.
Yeah. Very, very good. Yeah.
It's an excellent video. I'm going to put that one right up here. All of it was Tesla. And we talked about robots. We talked about, boy, what did we, I can't even remember. There's so many different subjects. And, oh, I know FSD, and the different, the rollout, et cetera, et cetera. So people should definitely take a look with that one, and there'll be a card above. Larry, last words. Some people really think you're wise, Larry. You had some, you should be reading.
If you want my last words, don't trust anybody's wise words.
You have to read your comments from, you know, from my, from these videos, Larry. You make you feel good when you go to bed at night. Yeah.
You know, I happen to agree with one of David Sachs's tweets. And I said to him, you know, great tweet. Boy, was I attacked as being, you know, pro-Putin and anti-Ukraine. Guys, get a life. I mean, criticize the thought, not the person. I ask you, please, just think before you write. And, you know, because a person doesn't agree with you, he's not an evil person.
Yeah.
Honest.
They call this the silly season for a reason.
Yeah.
I mean, the idea that Tucker Carlson is pro-Putin is the biggest, or pro-Russia is
I don't know Tucker Carlson, so I can't comment on it. But all I know is that, you know, David Sachs is not an evil person.
No.
So, and you know, I don't think I'm an evil person. At least my wife doesn't think she is. Doesn't think I am, and she's a very tough judge. I'll tell you that.
There you go.
All right, Randy. Have a great
Thank you so much. All right, we'll
see you tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. And to all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.